Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. Beretta has been making guns for a very long time, and they actually started making 25 ACP chambered pocket pistols in 1910. And the successive guns, closely related mechanically, the 1920, the 318, and finally the 418, which may or may not have been James Bond's first gun in the novels. In 1952, they went a different direction with an all-new design. It was an alloy frame gun with a steel slide called the 950. The 950 introduced a new feature, the tip-up barrel for loading. That way you don't have to rack the slide to load the gun. We're going to get into the weeds on this in a minute, but first I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon. This all costs money and your contributions help more than you know. If you'd like to join my supporters on Patreon, there is a link in the description below. And if you join at the $1 level or higher prior to 31 December 2023, you will be automatically in a drawing for a Hi-Point YC9 Yeet Cannon 9mm handgun, which this is restricted to persons in the United States because laws. And on January 1st, we will draw a winner and contact you to find out the details of the FFL we are to send it to. This is the gun is provided by Rain City Shooting Supply, who are darn nice people. Anyway, I'd also like to thank channel benefactors, those individuals who allow me to shoot their guns and show them to you and talk about them. Donate ammunition, parts, all manner of things to the channel. So thank you all. So it started production in 1952, and in 1968 they could no longer import them to the United States because of the Gun Control Act of 1968. By 1978, Beretta USA was up and running, and they began to produce this, the Model 950BS. Maybe not the best name for a gun. Anyway, it's also called the Minx in 22 short and the Jetfire in 25 ACP. And this is Beretta Model 950BS. And we're going to have a look at that on the tabletop, but first we're going to do some shooting. So as you saw in the video, sadly unreliable, got a lot of light strikes. Now, the ammunition that was available to me today was CCI, standard velocity, 22 short. And I've been having a problem in some pistols with light strikes on CCI ammunition since COVID. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm going to have to get some different ammunition to try this with. Possibly some Aguila or something like that. I don't know. But I do need to try this with different ammo before I go to the pain in the butt of replacing the mainspring. Now, the gun can be very accurate, and it is hampered less by its size than by the front sight of this little half dome that becomes invisible against most targets in most shooting situations. I eventually put some masking tape on it, and I'm going to commit collector heresy by ramping the front sight, serrating it, and painting it, because I like to be able to, hit things. But anyway, Shooting it is very nice when it doesn't get light strikes. There's no recoil, of course. And other than the light strikes, it was quite reliable. So let's go to the tabletop and have a look at the details. The Beretta 950BS is a very svelte little gun. It's 4.7 inches long, 3.4 inches high, and weighs 9 ounces, which isn't very much. It's 0.9 inches thick, but that's the grips is the thickest part. Other than that, it's a very trim little piece of machinery. It has an alloy frame and, of course, steel slide, barrel, and internals. This version, now between the 950 and the 950B, they changed the way the recoil system operates. I'm not really sure what they did. The BS, the S stands for safety. This gun has a safety and can be carried cocked and locked. The Italian guns were meant to be carried at the half cock notch. And of course, it was very safe because you didn't have to lower the hammer while the gun was loaded. Just pop the barrel up, pop a round in, close it, and you're good to go. Now, the magazine release in old Beretta fashion is here. Pops the magazine out nicely. And this magazine is designed for 22 short. So you pull down on this, and that lets you load rounds in one at a time until you've filled the magazine with 6 rounds. Interestingly, the feed ramp is built into the magazine because there's extra room. The cartridge, of course, is quite tiny, and it fires a 29 grain bullet. The box lists a velocity of 1,000 feet per second. From this gun, I think we're probably getting closer to around 700. If I ever get my chronograph working, we'll probably do some shooting with that and find out. So the safety is not ambidextrous, but it does work well, and I found myself actually riding the safety just like a 1911, and that worked fine. As I said, the sights, there's a tiny notch in the rear. Let's see if we can get a good look at that. And this half-round thing at the front that specializes in vanishing. The trigger pull, and we can dry fire it by opening the barrel. Don't normally want to dry fire a rim fire because the firing pin can be damaged or damage the edge of the breech. So let's get out the handy dandy Lyman trigger scale and measure it. So that is about 4 pounds on the first go. Let's try it again. And about the same the second pull. So it's around 4 pounds. Not the lightest trigger in the world, but it is commendably crisp. You've got a little bit of take-up, a little bit of slack, and it breaks very clean with practically no over travel. Let's check the reset. Reset is very short, like 1911 short. It's actually really good. And black plastic grips are standard. I'm told other grips are available. As you can see, it says 22 short. And Minx, the name of this particular gun, the Beretta symbol. And it's a very attractive, very nicely finished, very neat little pistol. So to take it apart, you pull the barrel over, and then you can pull the slide to the rear and lift it off. I'm not going to do that because YouTube loses their mind. And they say that the pop-up barrel, so you don't have to rack the slide, because the slide is hard to rack, it being such a small gun. It's not hard to rack. But the pop-up feature is still interesting. Now, because the barrel pops up, there's no extractor at all. It relies on straight blowback pressure to eject empty cartridges. And I will show you this. If you've got a round in the chamber and you want it out of the chamber, and you press this, it's very easy to just dump it out. If you're not careful, it will go flying out to some random place, like under the rubber duck. So, very cool little gun. So, in the 80s, early 80s sometime, I bought a 950 BS with the 3 3/4 inch barrel. It's kind of an odd looking little gun, like a miniature P38. And I enjoyed it. It was fun to shoot. It was great for plinking and all that sort of thing. But it wasn't useful, and I couldn't afford to have a useless gun lying around. I didn't have much money in those days. And I've wanted one ever since. And in the last 10 years, this has become an acute sense of longing. So when this one showed up at a very good price in excellent condition at Pinto's Guns, I leapt upon it with glad cries and managed to pick it up. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's surprisingly accurate if you can manage to see the front sight. And just a neat little range toy. And make no mistake, this should be a range toy. Now, there was a fashion for 22 short pocket pistols in Europe, and a lot of companies made them. Bernadelli, Astra, several others. The Colt Jr. was available in either 25 ACP or 22 short, and those were made by Astra. And never really caught on over here. 22 short is not a viable self-defense cartridge. I mean, from a rifle, it's only getting 1,000 feet per second with a 29 grain bullet. That ain't much. Now, in a sense, you could use this for self-defense, and people did carry them as backups in self-defense guns. And the reason you could do that was most of the times when you start shooting bad guys who want your wallet, they run away. But you're leaning pretty heavily into that counting on them to run away thing with this, because if I had to shoot someone with this, they would definitely go to the hospital. I don't know that I could actually hit them in a way that would compel them to stop if they didn't run away. So it's really, really not a good idea, and seriously not recommended to use these little 22 short pocket pistols for self-defense. It might work, but it's just a really bad idea. I'll give you an idea, 25 ACP is considered marginal at best, and it is much more powerful than 22 short from one of these little guns. But it is a cool gun, it is a lot of fun, and I plan to shoot it quite a bit. And 22 short is harder to find than it used to be, but it runs around $10-12 for a box of 100. So it's really pretty economical to shoot. And I just want one for no good reason at all. And I'm very glad to have finally gotten one, and despite the light strikes with the CCI ammo, I am not disappointed. It's a wonderful, well-made, pretty little gun that is a ball to shoot. I don't know what more you could ask for. So, I guess that's it for this time. I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and we'll see you again real soon.